This is the first episode of the Crystal Creek Homes podcast. My name is Jason Thompson. I'm the president and CEO of Bridge Advisory. We are a private issuer, wholesaler, and consulting firm. Basically, what we do, we help privately owned companies raise investment capital across Canada. Crystal Creek Homes is one of our clients. We are joined here by Justin Bobier and by Kobe Contenti. Maybe I'll have both of you gentlemen introduce yourselves. Why don't we start with you, Justin?
Sure. So I'm the founder of Crystal Creek Homes. I started the company in 2004. Prior to that, I had a background as a tradesman. Crystal Creek celebrating, over 20 years in business. Very proud of that. And I'm still very active in the company today.
Awesome. And Kobe?
Awesome. Yeah, I'm a dealing representative with Rethink and Diversify, an exempt market dealer. And so I work with companies similar to Crystal Creek Homes through and raise capital for them through the exempt market dealer. So yeah.
Sounds great. Yeah, why don't we start there and just kind of explain kind of what that even means? Because I think for a lot of viewers tuning in here, private investor or private investments and exempt market dealers, stuff like that, those might all be brand new terms. So why don't we set the table a little bit? I'll explain first. I've been in this industry now for 18 years. So it's been a little while. The gray in the beard is well earned at this point. But yeah, this is a space that exists. It's regulated by the provincial securities authorities and commissions. And basically what it does, it creates a framework that allows private businesses that maybe aren't at the stage of wanting to go public and doing a full IPO. It still gives them a framework whereby they can raise investment capital from the public at large. And one of the ways that companies can do that is through exemptions to the prospectus requirements. So if you're a public company and you're doing an IPO, you file a prospectus, and there's a whole form that you have to follow with that. You work with investment dealers to raise the capital. At the private investment level, the process is very similar, but the requirements are relaxed a little bit to make it easier for private companies to engage in this activity. So those prospectus exemptions include things like working with exempt market dealers, where you have a professional who can guide you through your investment decision, help you determine whether it's suitable for you, for your investment goals, your risk tolerances, your timelines, everything like that, and help you navigate which private investments might be a good fit for you. So it's awesome that you're on the call here with us, Kobe. Obviously, an important part if anyone on the show here today has interest in potentially partnering with a firm like Crystal Creek Homes and wants to invest at the end of the day. Now, we're not just going to talk about investing here. We are going to talk about Crystal Creek at large. Justin, I know there's a wealth of knowledge in your 20 plus years of experience now that we're going to tap into throughout this. Why don't we start by just going into your background in a little more detail? You mentioned at the start that you started as a tradesman and built the company now 20 years ago. Why don't you walk us through that process in a little more detail? Kind of tell us how things started for you and where you're at today, now 20 years later.
Sure. Thank you very much for that, Jason. Yeah, I started off as a carpenter's son and very much was involved in the home building industry from being a framer, actually building the homes. I also worked as a cabinet installer for a good portion of that, kind of similar on that carpentry vein. And really, where the company, I was very happy with what I did. I really had no desire to do anything else. But where the sort of the ignition or the spark came to kind of think about doing something else was an injury. And so I was injured at work. I was off work for about 4 months. And I had 4 children. I had a wife. And all of a sudden, I had no income for 4 months. And that started me down the line of thinking maybe I should look at doing something else. I had my ambitions. And that was really the start of thinking differently about where my life was headed.
That's awesome. And so when you started the company, I assume you didn't jump straight into production building. There's usually a ramp up process to this. So how did you get started with home building? How were your first projects and how did it build over time?
Well, the company started in Calgary, and the very first challenge to being a brand new home builder is where do you get inventory? Where do you get a serviced lot that you can build on? And really, the only thing that is available are higher end lots that people are maybe having a challenge selling, or it's a high price. And so, kind of right off the bat, that made us a luxury builder because that was the only type of lots that we could purchase. So early on, that's what was available. And as we got started down that road, it very much fit what I was doing as a cabinet installer anyways. I was working for a number of high-end luxury builders, and it felt very comfortable, that space for me to be in.
That's awesome. So you started as a luxury builder. How many homes were you doing in your first year or so? I assume it wasn't very many when you're first getting going.
Year one was one house.
That's great.
Year two, I think, was two houses.
Okay, good.
So it was humble beginnings.
Yeah, perfect. And today, now 20 years later, how many homes did Crystal Creek do in 2024?
So in 2024, I think we did 175 homes between the two cities, Edmonton and Calgary. Very proud of that accomplishment. Obviously, the company has continued to grow since inception, and a lot of that credit is the team members that work at Crystal Creek and kind of the dedication and passion that we put into each and every day into what we do.
That's amazing. And today you're not just a luxury home builder, you build the kind of the whole gamut. Do you want to tell us just at a real high level some of the stuff that you guys are working on right now?
Sure. I mean, we build townhomes, duplexes, starter homes, kind of that mid-range product, and right up to, very proud to have built the lottery luxury home for the Calgary Health Foundation, or sorry, the Alberta Health Foundation, the past couple years, where that's a $3 million plus product. So we do hit all gamuts across the industry. And by doing that, it allows us diversification, a different trade base. It also allows us to have focus on different areas that are producing better than certain other areas that aren't.
That's awesome. So in Calgary right now, how many communities would you be active in at
Uh,
a given time?
So in Calgary, we're active in 11 communities, and in
Okay.
Edmonton, we're active in 4 communities. That switches though from year to year in terms
Yeah,
of how big a community might be or as it closes down. So every year it can change a bit.
that's great. Kobe, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about your background. How did you come to be a dealing representative with Rethink and Diversify Securities? And what does that entail for you on a day-to-day basis as you're doing your job?
Absolutely. So about, I want to say 3.5 years ago, I approached Justin. Um, at the time, I was dating his daughter, and I still am dating his daughter. I was halfway through my university degree, and I said, "Well, I'm going to need some work experience soon." So I approached Justin, seeing if he had any opportunities for me. I was studying my Bachelor of Business Administration with a major in finance, and so Justin said, "Well, I think we've got some room on the accounting department." And so I was doing that for 3 summers in between my university semesters up until I finished university, which was last December. And so, kind of a great transition role, being familiar with the company and having a real passion for finance and private equity. Of course, Justin introduced me to you, and then I've been at it full time since January now, or last January. So it's been a year. Um, and so, yeah, it's been fantastic, and kind of working through Justin, working through you, and getting to know the industry and getting to know how to raise money and be a good service rep. It's fantastic.
Yeah. And you work directly with investors, with
Yes.
people that are just out in the world that have capital that they would like to deploy and diversify a little bit. When you show them these types of opportunities, what are they typically excited about when it comes to private investments and what that can do for a portfolio?
I think where I strive in connecting with my clients is that both of us can appreciate that the performance of these exempt market products, ones like Crystal Creek, are entirely based on the performance of the company. It's not a public stock they're going to wake up to and it's going to go up and down, up and down. It's entirely based on the performance of the company. If you're an investor in Crystal Creek Homes, you can go to the show home in Aspen, you can go to the show home in Curry. You can actually see where your dollars are being put. You can see the progress of it. And so it's very rewarding. And it also builds a bit more of a personable relationship with the company. Investors can come and meet Justin. Investors can come and, tour their building here, and yeah, it really creates a personable level that I think my clients can appreciate.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's one of the things I love about the private capital markets in general too, is that you're partnering with businesses that have an operating company. They do a thing. It's in this case, Justin, your business, you build homes. And we're all pretty familiar with that business model. A lot of us have gone through that process and had the privilege of working with a builder like yours and going through and selecting kind of the finishes and the layout and the model that you're going to purchase. It's a big decision, but to know that your investment capital is going towards supporting a local business that employs hundreds or potentially thousands of people in your local market, and then to be able to see that manifest and see new houses going up in these communities where you see Crystal Creek signs and stuff, it really does create that sense of like local participation and that pride of investment, pride of ownership almost, by partnering with a company like this in that way. So yeah, I really love that about the private investment space in general. And then the accessibility is also such a huge thing, like being able to hear directly from the business operator on platforms like this, where Justin, you make yourself available and you share your insights and knowledge. I think this is a great opportunity for people joining us on this podcast to learn a little bit more about home building in general, but also about how they might be able to participate in this through the investment offerings that you put together. So that's a great segue into the main topic that we want to cover here today. Being that this is episode 1 of the Crystal Creek Homes podcast, we wanted to just touch on the reasoning for it. Justin, you were excited to put this together. You're dedicating time out of your very busy schedule towards speaking with us on these topics. Why did you want to do this? What was the driving force behind it for you? Why do you think this is something that's valuable, and what can viewers expect to hear and learn over the coming episodes as we do this week after week and month after month?
Perfect. Yeah, thanks, Jason. I mean, Crystal Creek, we've been working with investors for well over 15 years. And, as the company has grown, so has our investor base. And, as we partnered with Rethink and Diversify to ensure that, we were doing things proper with Alberta Securities Commissions, those types of things. What I started to realize is, boy, our investor base is starting to grow, certainly past the friends and family. And so I often get very similar questions, and investors like to get in front of me and they like to ask questions. And a lot of times they're very, very similar questions. And so by creating a bit of a podcast like this, hopefully it'll allow people that might be too shy to ask, or it becomes repetitious, that they get a chance to kind of in an informal way be able to tune in to some of the things that they might be interested in. It
Yeah.
also gives our current investor base just a chance to sort of check in, and if they want to find out how things are going, how their money is being invested and protected, and how it's growing.
That's amazing. And we're also going to talk about the business at large, right? You're going to talk about some of the projects that you're involved in, some of the challenges that you face, the hurdles that you have to overcome. So I think there's going to be a lot of just general interest types of topics on here too, that people from a wide variety of backgrounds and positions in life might find informational and valuable.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm really excited about this. I think this is going to be a lot of fun.
And I think the one thing is too, is that people have a lot of choice where to put their money.
Yeah.
There's lots of places that they can do it, and some people are very happy to invest in a particular stock, or to be active like that. Other people like to know where their money is going, and I know the one thing that I've heard time and time again from our investor base is that they love that they get to kind of touch and feel and know where their investments at. They can drive to our show homes. They can see they're supporting local. We support well over 5,000 contractors across the province of Alberta. And so, what Crystal Creek does is what keeps Alberta strong and keeps our economy growing. And I think that as investors participate in that, there's a real sense of pride in living here in Alberta, and that's part of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's huge. And I love that this is going to be something where over time we're going to also open it up for people to attend the live stream and ask questions directly as we're on camera here, and they'll have an opportunity to interact directly with you. I think that's really exciting as well, to have the chance to jump on a platform like this and hash out some stuff, figure out where people have questions and what they want to learn more about, and where we can support that growing knowledge.
Yeah, often people have very similar questions, and this will be a great platform for people to ask that live, get live answers. And if they
Yeah.
want to, if they're not available, they can tune in afterwards to pick up the episode.
Yeah, that's awesome. Perfect. So we're going to cover a whole bunch of different topics on this podcast. Some of the things maybe we'll just kind of tee them up a little bit. We'll tease them a bit. We won't get into a lot of detail because obviously we want to save content for future episodes. But some of the content that we are going to cover on the podcast, we're going to cover the business of home building, just in general, and talk a lot about that. Some of the things that you're working through. That includes things like talking about specific projects that you're excited about that are just coming online, or ones that you've been working on for a while, and major milestones that you're achieving. Why don't we just briefly maybe showcase a couple of the projects that you're currently working on, or something that's coming down the pipeline that you're excited about? Maybe do one or two in Calgary and then one in Edmonton.
Sure. Nope, that sounds fantastic. One of the ones we're really super excited about that's coming to Crystal Creek is a community called Taza. Not many people have heard of that today. It's based in the Tsuut'ina Nation by the Grey Eagle Casino in Calgary. It's going to become a very predominant community over the next 15 to 20 years. It will become a mainstay that everybody knows about. And we're just so humbled and privileged to be a part of the early pioneering of that community in partnership with the Tsuut'ina Nation.
That's awesome. Yeah,
Um,
that's a unique project. It's the I was lucky enough to come down and see the land itself. It's absolutely gorgeous location. Um, yeah, really, really unique opportunity to partner with Sutina. But there's some unique benefits to that project as well. They're really able to move through the bureaucracy of development at a pace that's far faster than what we're used to when we're working with the municipalities, right?
Yeah, and I think one of the things that has really interested us in the community is the fact that the Tsuut'ina Nation has partnered with Canderel. Canderel is a Canadian-based company that has been in the development industry for years and years. And it's through that partnership that they are welcoming the city of Calgary, if you will,
Yeah.
to become a partner with them in development. And it's really exciting to be a part of. They've got some fantastic individuals that form part of that group and that I've known for years and years. And so it's exciting. One of the other projects that we're just launching is a villa project out by Heritage Point, Pine Summit. And so that is going to be, our thought process is for that kind of plus 50 crowd that enjoys the lifestyle of being able to travel, having nice things in their home, and having people take care of grass cuttings and snow shoveling and things like that. So that's really exciting. We're just getting started on our show home there. We have 28 villas that will be going up over the 2025 year, and excited about that. The one other project that you had talked about in Edmonton to touch on is we just committed to some land in the city of Fort Saskatchewan, which is an adjacent suburb of Edmonton.
Yeah.
Really excited about getting started there. There's so much investment happening in our beloved oil industry in and around Fort Saskatchewan. And so, yeah, to be a part of that energy and be a part of that excitement is, another feather in our cap. Uh,
Yeah.
Even though it's up north and we have our rivalries between Edmonton and Calgary, this is good competition.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's exciting for sure. So what type of product are you looking to build up in Fort Saskatchewan? Is that entry level stuff, or is it more mid level? What are you foreseeing in that
Uh,
market?
So that'll be duplexes and
Okay.
single family and starter single family homes.
Okay,
Very,
great.
very affordable, and yeah, it'll be an exciting spot in terms of everything that's going around Fort Saskatchewan. It's got great energy.
Right. And how big is that project? Is it a multi-phase, multi-year style community, or is this going to be a relatively short term?
So this is a stepping stone for us at Crystal Creek Homes into a much larger opportunity. And
Okay,
so it allows us probably a 10 to 15 year bandwidth of building in that community.
that's wonderful. That's great. There's a lot to be excited about with those three communities. I know there's many, many more as well that all have unique features. We'll get into all of those on future episodes as we showcase some of these communities and some of the product that you're building there. We're planning to go on location for some of these and show people a look at the show homes and the product that's going up in those communities. So it's going to be a lot of fun to show people what you've been doing over the last 20 years and the, the place you're at today, the product you're building, the customers you're working with, and the markets that you're really helping to shape. So yeah, that's all super exciting. Now, the other big part of this podcast obviously is the investment side. So why don't we talk a little bit about the history of Crystal Creek working with investors? Now, we didn't always have a relationship with exempt market dealers and stuff like that. That's been an evolution over time. It originally started really with friends and family and business associates that you'd worked with in the past, and it grew from there. So why don't we talk a little bit about the evolution of the capital raising program, the partnership with investors, and the track record that you've been able to maintain throughout these last 15 plus years working with investors. I think that's really important for people to know as well.
Yeah, absolutely. When Crystal Creek first started, and as we started to take on a little bit more volume and take on a little bit more opportunity that was presented to us, it takes capital. And so in the early years, it was very easy to ask friends and family to, hey, we've got an opportunity to maybe take down 5 or 6 lots, but I need help with the deposits. And so that's really the early start of where we were. As opportunities started to grow and as the base started to grow, those investors have stayed with us through the years. But as it started to expand and as we started to get into, hey, my friend would like to also participate because I've told him how great this is, it started to then be sort of a compliance issue in terms of how we were going about our business. And so thankfully we had a corporate lawyer that was very sophisticated in this area and kind of said, you need to now expand, and this is kind of the evolution of where you're going as a company. And so as again, as that investor base started to grow, then we started to reach out and understand again how this investment world works, because we're home builders. We like
Yeah.
building homes for people, and we don't know exactly how all of this works. And so we started to rely on experts like Rethink and Diversify, who've really helped us to grow that base of investors across Canada. And it's so interesting to me now that when we see investors from New Brunswick or Ontario or British Columbia that I've never met that are investing into our fund. And so that's exciting.
Yeah, yeah, that's really cool. It's a very common story. The growth path that companies take is it's almost always the same, even if you're in completely different industries. It's companies grow, they have success, and soon there's more opportunity than there is capital. And you just have to start reaching out. And there is that tipping point where now, okay, these aren't just friends, family, and business associates anymore. We're starting to get referrals and we're starting to get people that are interested that have heard about us from somewhere and they start approaching you. And that's when you really do need to take on that additional framework, the putting together the pieces to be able to compliantly check all the boxes and make sure that you're doing things in the right way with the right structure and the right legal framework for it. So it's awesome that you were able to navigate that. And today we are now at a point where you have a mutual fund trust that you have put together. Now, this is a fund style investment that allows investors to partner with you, not just on single projects or 4 or 5 lots at a time, but into basically everything that Crystal Creek does, and allows them to participate in a variety of different projects in different markets with different product. And creating that was a whole other evolution, because the first step was expanding your framework and putting together the compliance to allow you to do that project by project capital raising. But this is a whole new evolution. And this came together originally 3 years ago now. It's been going for 3+ years. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that step, taking it from single project capital raising to this fund approach?
Yeah, it really started by a number of people approaching me and saying, I wish this was eligible for RSPs or TFSA.
Yeah.
And of course, I build homes and I didn't know how that worked. And so as I started to reach out to the industry experts, they said, well, one thing you could do is create your own mutual fund trust. And that mutual fund trust would essentially act as an investor in particular Crystal Creek projects that, that are going to perform. And so as we created that mutual fund trust, it gives a little bit more of a long-term approach for investors to put their money into a fund that is going to participate in a number of areas that Crystal Creek is involved in, not just one or two, and it sort of gives a more balanced approach to people's portfolio. The fund, I'm really excited as to where it's going. I see the fund as my future. I'm an investor in the fund, and that's where I really see the growth of our investor capital coming from. And
Yeah.
I'm really excited to see where this goes.
That's amazing. Yeah, it's such a big step to be able to create this funding platform that allows you to deploy capital into the projects that need it. And then as projects have success and wrap up, to redeploy that capital into new opportunities. It just allows you to grow your company in such a more efficient way, that I think it's something that a lot of people will find a lot of interest in, and figuring out how you did this and what it took to put it together. So we will spend probably a full episode talking through that process and really getting into the nitty gritty of how that came together and the different elements that we've built into it, the features, that sort of stuff. So that's all really exciting. But you've also used the mutual fund trust as a investment vehicle for your employees.
Hmm.
That's a really neat feature that I think is again something that we should maybe touch on a little bit. So how do your employees participate in this fund, and what is the reasoning behind rolling it out to them?
Well, one of the big success of Crystal Creek Homes obviously is our team members. And it's funny because my industry peers always ask, how do you have such passionate, dedicated team members at Crystal Creek who are constantly being recruited by other companies? And some who have chosen to leave have gone on to be leaders in our competitive companies. And I look at that as a testament to how we treat our staff, our training, and the passion that we have here at Crystal Creek. But in particular with the mutual fund trust, everybody wants to have ownership thinking, right up until, there's the ownership liabilities of personal guarantees and those sorts of things. So
Yeah.
our employees invest their own money into our mutual fund trust through the RSPs. Crystal Creek has an RSP matching contribution for them that helps them out. And so rather than it going to some indiscriminate mutual fund or stock, it's going right back into our company. And so thereby, every single employee at Crystal Creek is an investor in our mutual fund trust, and thereby they get to control their own destiny.
Yeah.
The company performs, the mutual fund trust does well. If the company's not performing and we're not turning profitability, the fund is not going to perform. And so that has really become a driving force of ownership thinking within all staff members, where now all of a sudden they have a say in what's going on because it affects them personally. And
Yeah.
so it's a great format that we've created in doing that without giving them the liability that can come with ownership. And so I think it's one of the reasons that we see our success today
Yeah.
is obviously that driving force behind every team member at Crystal Creek.
That's awesome. Now, Kobe, why don't we turn it over to you? Why don't you tell us a little bit about what this mutual fund trust looks like? What
Yeah.
features does it have? What does it do for investors? You're meeting with people on a daily basis talking about this opportunity. What draws people to the Crystal Creek Mutual Fund Trust?
Absolutely. I know Justin mentioned having investors that would do these single purpose investments, and now they have this mutual fund trust that can invest into a diverse group of projects that Crystal Creek is building in. And so, a very strong argument for it is diversification. You're not only diverse into the Calgary market or one or two projects here in Calgary and the estate side, you're diverse across both Calgary and Edmonton. Not to mention, Crystal Creek's mutual fund also has some allocation in some multifamily assets as well. So, there's even further diversification there. But the biggest thing is registered account eligibility. People like to put their RSPs to work. They like compelling returns. They like tax deductions. And so I think that's kind of the biggest thing as well. Um, yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah,
So you mentioned compelling returns. What does compelling returns look like? How's the fund
yeah.
been performing? What does it offer to investors?
Absolutely. So their fund just started paying distributions last year. It started out as a 6% annualized distribution on a quarterly basis, but for the 2025 year, they've upped that up to 9%. So that's coming on a quarterly basis. And what's super, super exciting that wasn't an alternative or that wasn't an option with the previous investments that Crystal Creek offered is that it can just sit there and those distributions can just keep compounding on top of itself. So this can be a fantastic growth opportunity if you just put the cash in there, let those distributions compound over itself. Uh, Targets 10% a year. And so 10% compounding is quite a compelling return over time. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So the cash flow that it pays out, that 9% distribution, what kind of schedule does that show up on?
How do you mean on a quarterly basis?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
quarterly basis. Yeah.
Quarterly cash flow? Perfect.
Yes. Yeah.
So each quarter you receive a distribution. It's 25% of nine, so 2.25%, I think,
That's
if
correct.
my quick
Yep.
math is good.
Yep.
And you mentioned the opportunity to just roll that and compound it. There's a distribution reinvestment program, I assume, that people can enroll in.
Yeah. So distribution reinvestment program. So that's called the DRIP. So I think most of my clients that have invested, well, actually all of my clients that have invested have participated in the DRIP. They like the idea of just leaving it in there, letting these distributions get back to work for them. And yeah,
And you can use RSPs, tax-free savings
RSPs,
accounts, any of those
TFSAs,
vehicles.
RESPs, LIRAs, anything registered that you can think of, even the new first home savings account, you can take advantage of all those types of accounts.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a really compelling investment opportunity. And then obviously all the benefits that we mentioned before of supporting a local business that's driving the economy forward and creating new housing. It's such a good fit for us here in Alberta, especially, but it's available to Canadians right across the country, coast to coast, right?
yeah, absolutely. I know Justin mentioned they have investors from all the way from New Brunswick to the very, very west point of Vancouver. So, yeah, anyone nationwide can take advantage.
That's awesome. And Rethink and Diversify. Also, you have dealing representatives in all of the major provinces, or at least registration in all of the major provinces, coast to coast. So there's wherever you happen to be, there's a dealing representative that can meet with you and talk you through your opportunities and see whether there's a good fit there. That's all tremendous and great to know. Uh, yeah, that's all really exciting stuff. Now, Justin, you still do also offer the direct investment opportunity for accredited investors. So anyone who is an accredited investor, maybe Kobe, do you want to walk us through what that means at a quick high
Absolutely.
level? Yeah,
Yeah, so another thing too with the mutual fund trust, that's available to what's called a eligible investor. So an eligible investor who's someone who has $75,000 worth of income over the last 2 calendar years or more, greater than $400,000 in net financial assets. So a little bit easier to qualify than what's called an accredited investor. So an accredited investor is someone that's defined as kind of your ultra net worth wealthy individuals. Those people have $200,000 in net income over the last 2 calendar years, or they have over $1 million in net financial assets. There are a few other criteria that you can qualify as one of those types of investors, but yeah, those are the other ones. So the limited partnership stuff, the project specific stuff that Crystal Creek was offering was previously only available to those accredited investors, those super high wealth individuals. And now this mutual fund trust allows for more of the public to participate as well, which is fantastic.
Perfect. Yeah, it's nice to have offerings on both sides. If you are an accredited investor and you do want to learn more about the limited partnership opportunities, obviously they can talk to you, Kobe, and learn
Yes.
about those opportunities, see what might be a good fit. There are some tax advantages for those LP investments that may be of interest to the high net worth investor. So yeah, something to consider there as well. But again, the mutual fund trust is also open to cash investments. It doesn't just have to be through your RSP or your TFSA. If you invest into the mutual fund trust with cash, the distributions are also really tax efficient. Is that right?
Yeah, so all the distributions in the mutual fund trust on cash investments are return of capital. So return of capital means you don't owe tax on it in the year that it's earned. Long term, there will be a greater taxable event should you go to redeem these units or should your adjusted cost basis drop below zero. But yeah, in the short term, those distributions are no tax obligation, which is fantastic as well.
That's awesome. And talking about redemption and some timelines and stuff like that, how long are investors tied up in this fund? What
Yeah.
does it look like if you choose to make an investment with Crystal Creek? This isn't necessarily like a do it for 6 months kind of thing. This is a little bit of a longer time commitment, right?
Correct. Yeah. So what I'll tell people is this is a growth investment. If you're looking to get your money in and get out within a year or two, this likely isn't the investment for you. It's got redemption penalties. So what a redemption is just fees on early withdrawal within the first 3 years. So I tell my clients if this is something you can look for and you're okay holding with greater than 3 years, depending on other events, of course, on their financial information, it could be a fit. So yeah, I'd like to say at least a minimum 3 year hold. And then after that, you don't really incur any of those early redemption penalties. And yeah,
That's great. So yeah, if you're investing during the first 3 years, if you have to pull it out, there are some early withdrawal penalties. But if
correct.
you hold it for that full 3 years, there's no withdrawal penalty at that point from that point
Yeah,
forward.
I think there's just a one-time standard $400, lesser of
Okay.
5% or $400, but that's standard across all redemptions or withdrawals, not
Just an
just the early redemption.
administrative fee to
Correct.
allow the transaction to occur. Yeah, no, that
Correct.
makes sense. Perfect. And yeah, those are some great features. I think when you're investing in your RSP or your TFSA, you're typically looking at the longer time horizon anyway and saving for your
Absolutely.
future, for retirement in the RSP, or potentially for some larger life event, I guess, in the tax-free savings account. I know a lot of people do use the TFSA as sort of a midterm savings vehicle where they might be saving for something 3, 4, 5 years down the road. So this can be a fit even for that type of opportunity. But it's good that you talk to investors about their time horizon, make sure that it is a good fit for what they're looking for. Obviously, if they're saving for a vacation next year or something like that, that may not be a great fit for that capital. But yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah.
that's wonderful. All right. Well, there is so much more that we're going to cover in future episodes. For this first one, we really did just want to kind of introduce the opportunity, introduce the team. Justin, do you have anything else that you would like to touch on here before we wrap up for today?
No, other than, I'm really looking forward to, we're going to do the podcast once every 2 weeks. We're going to do it live. It'll be recorded for those that aren't available to attend. They can pick up the podcast over a weekend to be able to check it out and what they may have missed. But I think what I'm really excited about is there's going to be a lot of questions, I'm hoping,
Yeah,
that are going to be questions that not only you as an investor, but all your fellow investors have. And it's, when you're in the business and you know exactly what's going on, you assume everybody knows
yeah,
exactly what you do. And so I think that's, through this format, we're going to be able to touch on a lot of different topics. We're going to get a lot of questions and answers. And hopefully it just makes our client base that much more informed in terms of what their money is doing and how it's being put to use in our economy.
that's awesome. And yeah, maybe just to wrap up, quick high level view. What are you seeing in the Alberta economy right now? As a home builder in Calgary and Edmonton, is this a good market? Are you happy with what you're seeing? What do you see coming down the pipeline over the next 18 to 24 months in Alberta?
It's interesting because some of our industry colleagues are saying, "Man, it's slow," but we are in such a strong market still. From, we aren't on fire like we maybe were a year ago. It's returning to more of a balanced market, which is
Okay.
really, really good for homeowners and for builders. That's really what you want to see. But again, everybody's meeting sales budgets. Margins are still above average, and things are still clicking along, and all the metrics point to Alberta still being such an affordable place to come and raise your family. We're still seeing people coming in from parts of Eastern Canada, Ontario, from BC, moving to Calgary and Edmonton. Edmonton is really becoming the affordable choice for Albertans. Calgary is really the affordable choice for Canadians and international people coming to Canada. So many of our new home builds are for our first time people coming to Canada that are looking for a better life for themselves. So very excited about what we see in our market today, and we can't see anything that's going to change that over the short term.
That's wonderful. All right. With that, I think we'll wrap up this first episode. This is a little bit of a shorter one. I think on the whole, we're going to be targeting 45 minutes to an hour kind of thing. But for this first one here, we're about 30 minutes in, and I think we've accomplished everything that we set out to talk about here today. So thank you so much for your time, Justin. Thank you, Kobe, for participating as well and joining us with your insights. I'm super excited about this. I'm excited to get into all the nitty-gritty details of everything that you put together, the different communities, the way you've structured the company, the way we work with investors, the whole part of it. I think you've built a really exciting company with a lot going on that I think people are going to find really interesting. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm also looking forward to the live streams where we're going to get some feedback and some interaction with viewers. So definitely stay tuned. We will continue to share links to the recordings, but also we'll be sharing links to the live stream. So if you find this interesting, you'd like to join in and ask Justin some questions directly, you will have opportunities to do that. Thank you so much all for your time. Thank you for joining us, and we hope you found this valuable. We'll see you next time.
Thanks.
Thanks, Jason. Thanks, Justin.
Yeah, thank you.